Hi everybody, welcome. So I'm Mark on the technical side here at StorMagic, and we are going to do a quick overview of our SvHCI hyperconverged infrastructure. So for those that are in the know, this is our latest and greatest product from StorMagic, and it is there to enable edge high availability. Think your non-disruptive operational upgrades, your resiliency protection for your edge environment. So storage failed, node failure, network isolation, and be able to handle that in those on-prem situations, those on-prem virtualization scenarios, and be able to manage it at scale through our edge control solution. So what we're going to do is just do a quick overview with the systems over here as we speak. So if you have a look at this is effectively the on-box GUI that is providing then an overview of the node itself. What you can see from this is that it exists in a dual boot configuration as an immutable RAM disk. So from these two systems here, what we get as differentiated to the likes of an open source Linux is this dual boot model. Now, the reason that that's so important is if you are upgrading at scale, you want a backup mechanism. You want a means of easily upgrading something rather than apt install and apt remove of certain packages, dependencies, everything involved in ending up in a bad situation. With this, what you have inside those boot images is a known entity in every one of your situations, in every one of your locations, each site running exactly the same software, exactly the same technology within each of those pieces. So it's an immutable RAM disk with some persistent scratch storage for all of the logging and change block tracking to do with those synchronizations. Within here, on our networking side, we can easily configure up our virtual networking in what I would call a VMware-like networking experience. So we can see we get some vSwitches, we can team NICs together within those vSwitches. We get a concept of port groups where we can then do VLAN tagging, network isolation, network segmentation through different VLANs and IP subnets and everything else. And then we get our interfaces akin to a VM kernel port in a VMware. Now, this is all about being able to control where traffic flows and physically separate your synchronization traffic, your live migration traffic, away from your management traffic, away from your guest VM traffic. So a easy VMware-like network configuration to be able to be configured at scale. On our Discovery tab, we can see our two-node cluster and the resources available within there from CPU to memory, alongside our key enabler to that enterprise-grade data protection, which is our witness. Now, this cluster is using a small Raspberry Pi for an on-prem witness to show quite how lightweight it goes, but that is simply an installable service. So that could run on Windows, it can run on Linux, it just needs to run off the cluster. And the more common scenario is that that runs centrally up in the data center, or even behind network address translation in the cloud, shareable 1 to thousands of nodes, thousands of clusters, and being able to support those as a arbitrator, as a quorum provider for those two-node clusters at scale. Within our virtual machines tab, we can then easily see the virtual machines that we have deployed. We've got Windows, we've got Linux, we've got a different mixture of the different flavors of Linux out there, from Ubuntu to RHEL to Alma to whatever you want to be able to run on there to support your important applications and keep them resilient. And obviously within there, we can easily non-disruptively migrate those VMs. We can see this nice little widget pop up in just a second as it kicks that across, and then that visibility of that task as it progresses across and gives you that nice, easy feedback as far as it's copying that memory, copying that VM data across non-disruptively for that simple transition between those two nodes. Now, all of that, as we get our nice success, obviously being further validated as a HA failover, being able to pull the power out of a system, being able to pull the power out of both systems and go down and also then automatically recover. So the powerful thing here being a 30-second failover, because this thing is so tightly integrated as far as a storage stack and a hypervisor side by side, rather than a separate storage controller VM, we get this nice integrated fast failover of those virtual machines between those systems. And what that means is that those VMs are then back up and running as quickly as possible, servicing the customer, servicing the application in there in those environments. Now, obviously, with all of this stuff, you want to be told, if you have many thousands of these systems, exactly what's going out there on that node. So being able to alert out to syslog, to SNMP, to email, a full life history of that environment. And then not only being able to give you that on-node visibility, but also centrally manage that fleet, that estate, through our edge control utility. So here we can see these nice little widgets, this graphical overview of the estate that we have out there. So in this, we've got some 30 nodes running and managed by this edge control instance. These are then selectable, such that I can click one of those guys, see that that one is in an error state, select it further, be able to dig into that, get its status. We can see that that's had a critical storage failure. Obviously, everything continued to run, non-disrupted, undisrupted, with the I/O proxied to the good node within that cluster, and the alert sent out, you know what's going on, how can I go and fix it in that edge environment, how can I remediate that storage? The powerful thing here from an edge control perspective is we're getting visibility into our SvSAN nodes on different hypervisors from VMware to Hyper-V, but we also then get our SvHCI Hyperconverged nodes as well. So we can select these guys, we can select their VMs, we can see those different VMs, we can start, stop, live, migrate, do whatever we're doing with those virtual machines as well. So giving you that nice role-based access control, that multi-factor authenticated, secure fleet management of estates up to thousands and thousands of clusters, all about that on-prem HA. So thanks for listening to me, and look forward to a follow-up. Thanks very much.